Hi, welcome back to my tutorial. So on part 2 we're gonna work on our pages, and I'm gonna start with page 1, which is the inside of my front cover, the inside cover. This will be page 1. So for that page I'm going to grab one of my leftovers from building my pages, and I'm going to cut the long side to 7¼ like that, and then I'm just going to score that 1/2 inch along the long side. Okay, so I scored that, and I'm going to put some tape right there. There we go. And then I'm going to add this to the left side right here. So I'm going to take off this tape. And just add it right here. Make sure it's really straight. Okay, so for this page I'm going to use 2 pieces of ribbon for my closure, and I went ahead and melt the edge a little bit. So now I'm gonna grab one of the pieces and just put a little bit of fabric glue right there, and then I'm also gonna add a little bit of double-sided tape to make sure it's secure. And then on the other side I'm going to see where it lands, and I'm also going to add, I like to do this on the inside, so I'm gonna add a little bit of fabric glue and some more tape. So there you go. And now I'm going to grab my sheet, and this piece was cut at 7×6. So I'm going to distress the paper, and every paper on this album I'm going to distress. I'm just going to keep that off camera to save some time, but you want to distress every single sheet before you glue it. So then I'm going to add this right here. So I'm going to remove the tape. So this page I cut at 7×6, but because this is the inside cover, there's gonna be like a 1/2 inch left out. So I want to put another, I did that because I want to put a different paper to make it a border. But if you don't want that, you can just cut this at 7¼ So let me go ahead and glue this. Just like that. And I'm just going to add this right here. And I want to cover that, so I'm going to line it up with the edge of this band. And see, I don't think it's straight. Okay, so here we go. So that will be that side. And then on this side I want to show, or I want this little girl page to show. So I'm also going to trim this page. I'm going to cut this right here. Okay, so, and then I'm going to ink this page as well. Okay, so I ink it, and I'm just going to add some glue. And this will go right here. And I want to, I'm going to put it along the bottom, because I'm going to add some trim on the top. And again, if you don't want to add that trim or that extra, you know, different border, you can just make this sheet 7 1/4 instead of 7 on the height side. So I just want to show you, the first thing I do when I cut my papers is I cut my sheet at 6 by 7, or actually it's gonna be 5 3/4 by 6 3/4. So I cut my sheets that I'm gonna be using, and then the leftover part on the top, this is what I'm going to be picking to do smaller parts. Like right now, we're going to go ahead and add a pocket, and I'm gonna use one of my leftover scraps to do that. So I'm grabbing another one of my scrap pieces, and I'm going to cut it along at 3 inches. And that is going to be making my inside pocket right here. So you're just going to center it, and then I'm going to pencil mark where I'm going to score. So I'm going to score along the pencil marks, and then I'm also going to score 1/2 inch on the bottom. Okay, so I scored the sides, and now I'm going to cut the corners to avoid the extra bulkiness. And you can have your pocket like that, you can go ahead and add it, or you can also punch your edge before you do that. So I'm going to punch my edge right now. Okay, so I added my pocket, and now I'm grabbing one of my scrap pieces, and I'm just going to pencil mark where I'm going to cut it. So I remove my tape, and I'm just going to glue it. So when I glue this piece, I want to make sure it goes inside the pocket first, and just like that. And then I'm cutting another smaller piece, and that piece will go right here. So here's the other piece. And this will go right there. Okay, so then you have your page number 1 ready, and then you're gonna tie that. And there you go. And then I like to add my embellishments at the end. So now we're gonna do page 2. So I'm gonna grab one of my basic pages, and what I'm going to do with this one is I'm just going to cover it with, I like to do my albums kind of like a layout. So I want this to, I like these two sides to coordinate. So I'm gonna also use a pink paper right here.
I need to ink it.
Okay, so my assistant inked the page, and now we're just going to add it to our base sheet, just like that. And then on this sheet, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add like a little fold out that will hold a 4x6 picture. So I'm gonna grab another sheet, and I'm going to cut this sheet at 6 1/2 on the long side. So this is the long side. So actually 6 1/4. 6 1/4, and I want that to be 4 1/2, so I'm going to cut it at 9 and score the middle at 4 1/2. Okay, so I score along the middle and fold it almost like a card, and then I'm grabbing 4 designs from the 6x6 paper pad, and I'm choosing this one with the little girls walking in the snow, and that will be my page, you know, the front of my page. And then I'm just going to cut these at 4. This is already 6, so I'm just going to cut these at 4, all these ones. And then also I cut a piece of this is 1 by 4 1/2, or 4 1/4, I'm sorry. So then I'm going to add this to the back right here, and I'm going to glue this, and this is going to be my hinge to attach it to the main page. Okay, so I cover the front and the back, covering that piece, and I cover this side as well. But on the back of the front, I want to add a magnet, and I'm going to add it right on the bottom corner, just like that, before I glue my paper. So I'm adding it right there, and then I'm just going to add the last piece of paper. Okay, so I put the magnet right there, and now I'm going to add this whole piece here. Well, before I do that, I'm going to ink the border a little bit. Okay, just so it doesn't look too white. And then I'm going to remove the tape, and I'm going to add it right on the center and make sure it's straight. And there you go. And then I'm just going to add this magnet. I'm going to put it right there, and so I'm going to add double-sided tape on the back, and also I'm going to add a little bit of glue, and then I'm just gonna close this, and that's where my magnet's gonna be. Okay, so I have my magnet, and then I'm gonna grab a sticker from the collection, and I'm just going to put it on a leftover piece, and I'm going to cut that and trace around, cut around it, just like that. So here we go. It will hold the magnet, and at the same time you can still put up the picture, the corner of the picture can still go under that. So that's that. And then I'm going to cover this paper right here, the white paper, with another piece from our scraps. So I'm just going to use this to cover. Okay, so I covered this piece, and now we're gonna move on to sheet 3. Okay, so now we are on to sheet number 3. For this sheet, I picked this paper because I really like this design. So I cut this sheet to fit here. So remember, my page is 6 by 7. So this I'm gonna cut at 5 3/4 by 6 3/4. And then I went ahead and inked that. So now I'm just going to glue this and add it in. Okay, so my page is all glued in, and now here I don't want to cover the design, so I'm just going to do a little bit of a picture layout for a 3 by 5 picture. And so what I did is I cut three pieces at 5 1/2 by 3 1/4, and one at 5 by 3 1/4. So what I'm going to do is score. I'm just going to score these at half. Okay, so I scored the 3 larger pieces. And so I'm just going to start adding it to the first one. That's the smallest one. And I'm just going to put double-sided tape and add them one on top of each other. Okay, so I'm just gonna do that. Okay, so here's my twine. Cut that right there. And I'm just gonna grab my tape and I'm going to just put my piece right here. And that's gonna be the closure for this little book. So I'm gonna add this right here. Now before I add it, I wanna go ahead and add the papers. Okay, so I'm gonna grab 3 pieces of 6x6 and I'm gonna cut those at 1/4 inch before 5. And then the long side, it's gonna be cut at 3. So then 1 6x6 gives you 2. And then I think this should be 3. Okay, so I'm gonna corner the edge on one side for the bottom, and I'm going to ink around the side, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I got my sheets ready to be added, and I want to put this one on the front because this one goes really good with those colors. So I'm done adding my papers, and now I'm just going to remove the tape in the back and glue it right here. Okay, so I remove my tape and I'm just going to add my glue, and this piece is going to go right here. Okay, and next I'm going to add a little sticker right here. So I want to use this cute little sticker from the sticker sheet, and this is a long piece, so I'm just going to cut it out. Sticky. And I'm going to cut around the frame. I'm going to fussy cut it, and then on the back I'm going to add mounting tape. Okay, so here we go. I fussy cut it, and it's still sticky, but I'm just going to, I guess you could place it right on top, but I want to give it a little bit of dimension, so I'm just going to put some of this foam tape or mounting tape, and then it will make it pop out a little more. And I don't want to put it right on the center because this is where I'm going to tie my bow. So I'm going to put it right up here. So before I do that, I'm just going to ink. I don't like the white on the side. Okay, so, and now I'm just going to place it right there. And there we go. Our page 3 is done. We will add the embellishments later on. Okay, so now we're going to start on our sheet number 4, and because these two are going to go side to side, I want to pick a paper that goes really good with this one, so it coordinates. So I'm just going to glue it, and again, this was cut at 6 3/4 by 5 3/4. So I ink around the edge, and now I'm just adding it, and that's our basic page. Okay, so now following the example on this one, I created a book, little booklet, and this is 5 by 5, I believe. Let me double check on that. Yeah, so this is a 5 by 5. So the way you're gonna do this is we are going to cut 1, 2, 3 pieces at 5.5 by 5 and 1 piece of 5 by 5. So here we go. We're cutting this at 5.5 by 5. And then I'm gonna need 1 piece of 5 by 5. So there you go. So next we're going to score the 5.5 side, 1/2 inch. Okay, so all my pieces have been scored, and now I'm just adding the double-sided tape, or you can use glue, and I'm just going to join them together as we did on the smaller book. All right. So I'm removing my tape, and I'm just gonna add them together as straight as possible. So here we go. And if you prefer to use glue, it's probably it's easier to manage because you can pull it up and adjust it if you need to. So sometimes I prefer to use the wet glue. But here we go. Okay, so now I just need 1 more piece. Okay, so now this is my little booklet, and now I'm gonna add the piece that is going to hold the magnet on this side to keep this closed. And as I did on my other book, I'm gonna use a sticker. You can pick your favorite sticker, and let's see, I'm gonna use this little boy. So I'm gonna use this sticker right there and just add it. Okay, I'm leaving like 1/8 of an inch around, and let me get rid of this. And I'm just going to trim the bottom where I want this to end. And I'm gonna give it 1/8 of an inch as well. Okay, so there you go. And I'm going to score these right at the end of this little boy. So that will be a 2.5. So I will score at 2.5, and then I'm going to score again at 1/4 inch to give it a little gusset, and then I'm gonna allow about 1 inch to, the part that I'm going to glue in, and I'm going to cut it right there, right at 4. All right, so there you go, and I'm just going to fold this along my score lines. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these on the back of my book right here. So I'm just going to put some glue on the side that's going to touch my book. So I'm going to put that right here, and I'm going to keep it away from the score line a little bit. So here we go, like that. And now I'm going to add the magnet to this side. So I'm gonna place one right there with my double-sided tape. And then I'm going to place the magnet right there. And the tape facing up. I'll glue my magnet. And then I'm just going to close these, but I'm going to make sure I'm allowing that gusset to stay perpendicular. And here we go. So that way when we add our pictures, we have some room to expand. Okay, so next we're just gonna cover every single sheet, including this little piece. All right, so I add all my paper. So the papers inside were cut at 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. And so now I'm going to, if you want to keep this into a pocket on the back, as I did on my original album, then you're just going to add your double-sided tape along the sides, leaving the top open, of course. See that one, and then this one. Alright, so now we're just going to peel those out and add them into our sheet. Alright, so I'm just adding my sheets. Here we go. And then for the insert on the back, I'm just going to use some of my scraps, and I'm going to measure it to paper from the cutouts. Okay, so I want to use this key from the cutout sheets, and this one will fit on the back. But first I'm going to back it on a little piece of scrap, and I'm just going to glue it, and I'm going to create a tag out of this. So I'll glue it in the corner, and then I'm just going to trim the excess of the paper. Okay, like that, and I'm going to ink around it, and I'm going to punch a hole on the top. I'm going to use the smaller hole, and I'm going to punch right in the center, right there. Okay, and then I'm going to pass my string through the little hole. So there you go, I passed it through, and now I'm just securing it. So I pull tight, I'm going to make them even. There you go. And these, it's going to be, you know, you can put paper on the back, or you can leave it open for journaling. And this will go right here. Okay, so there you have it, page 4. Okay, so now we are going to work on page 5. And on this page, let me show you the example. This page has a little bit of like a side opening right there to hold the photo mat, and it will open up and just has a corner little pocket. So for that, I'm grabbing a piece of my scraps, and I'm going to cut it at 7.5 by 5. This was already at 5, so I don't need to trim that. And I'm going to score 1/2 inch on the short side. And if you have a punch that you want to use, you're just going to trim it. If not, you can leave it square. And then I'm just going to add some tape. Okay, so I'm adding this on the top and center. There you go. And now we're just going to cover our paper. Okay, so if you choose to add a magnet to this flap, you can add one right here and one right there before you add your paper. I choose not to add a magnet, so I'm just going to glue it in place right now. Okay, so now to add my corner pocket, this is the way I do it. I'm just going to corner that in, and I'm actually going to turn it around and pencil mark where I'm going to cut my corner. So that's what I'm be cutting it. And before I do that, I'm going to cut my edge so it looks, you know, it just gives it an extra touch. Okay, so I cut my paper, and now I'm gonna cover that with this sheet of pink paper. And the way I do it, I'm just gonna center in the corner, and I'm going to pencil mark one side and the other where I'm going to cut them. And then I go to my paper cutter and I just line up those two little pencil marks like that. I hope you can see that. And then just cut along, and there you go. And so now we have our little corner. So let me ink it and glue it. And then also in the back of this piece, I added double-sided tape, and I used the thinner one. So then I'll be just gluing this piece on the corner. So here you go, I added the corner piece, and now I'm going to do the same thing I did with the other tag. I'm just going to back this in some of my scrap papers, and that will be the piece that goes right there. And also I'm just going to go ahead and cover these two sheets of two papers. Okay, so here you go. I made this little tag for the side corner, and I cover my paper, and I cover this piece of paper as well, and I left this blank to add my little trim. You could make the paper longer if you wish. And now to make that little opening on the side, I'm just gonna grab any piece from my sticker sheet or from my cutouts and add a piece right here to hold a little booklet. Okay, so I picked a sticker from the sticker sheet, and I'm just going to add, you can pick any image that you want. So I'm just going to add a little bit of double-sided tape to one side, and make sure it's the left side because I don't want to cover the cute little fox that I picked for that page. So you just add it, and then you just place it right there. And since we only glue one side, then we can go ahead and make a little booklet to place right here. Okay, so I made a little booklet, and then these we just add right there, and then we'll be adding the trim, and there you have it. Okay. So now we're ready to start on sheet number 6. And for this sheet, all I have is just a simple pocket, but I am using this paper from this piece from the paper cutouts. Okay, to create my pocket, I'm going to cut a piece of heavy cardstock at 7 by 5, and I'm going to score that piece ½ inch. So that it's going to be scored ½ inch on one side, ½ inch on the other side, and then I'm going to do ½ inch on one of the long sides. So I score my sides, and I'm going to cut these corners of my pocket, and I'm also going to use my paper punch and trim the edge. Okay, so I trim my edge, and I'm going to ink. I just like the distressed look just a little bit, and I'm just going to glue this piece in my pocket. Okay, so let's see. And it fits just perfect. Look at that. Okay, so I'm just going to clean the excess glue. And then we're just adding double-sided tape on the score lines. And after we add the tape, we are going to add it to our page. Alright, just like that. And make sure it's even. Like that. And I'm going to add a piece of 6.5 by 3 inches just to place behind my pocket. So I'm going to open the pocket, and I'm just going to insert a little bit. That way when we put in our tags, they won't get stuck with the corners. Okay, so here we go. And that's our page. We're gonna embellish it later. And then I created a little booklet using another cutout piece that will go right there. Alright, that's page 6. So now we're moving on into page 7. And for page 7, I have a piece of 7 by 5. And I'm just going to score this again at 1/2 inch. And this piece right here will become our flap on the left. Like that. So we're just going to add some double-sided tape and put this page right there. So there you go. We're just adding it to the side. And when you add it, make sure it's upside up. So your flap is on the left. And we're gonna do the same that we did for page 1. We're going to add the ribbon as a closure. If you don't want to add the ribbon, you can always put a magnet right here and on the other side as well. So I added my ribbon, and now I'm just going to add this piece of paper to cover it. Let's see. Alright, and I'm going to cover this sheet as well. So I'm covering this side right here. And now I'm not covering this side just yet, because as you see in my original album, let me show you, I have this little flap right there. So I want to, and this is optional, you don't have to do that step, but if you want to add this flap to open this card, I'm going to need this sheet clear so we can cover the the back of that little brat. Okay, so let's do that. So to create that card, I have a piece of one of my scraps that is big enough, and I'm going to glue this card. I think it's 3 by 5. I'm not sure about that. So I'm just going to glue that one right here on the right side, and I'm going to trim this right here. Okay, and then I'm going to score this piece. I'm going to score it right here. I'm going to give her 1/8 of an inch. Whoops, I think it will be right there. Okay, so I'm just going to fold that, and I'm going to cut the excess. So there you go. And I'm going to just glue. You could use double-sided tape, but I'm just going to glue around the side to create a pocket. And I want to just like tilt it a little bit. So I will place this right here. Okay, and now I'm going to see where I'm going to put my little brat. So I'm just gonna grab one, and I'm going to place it far away so it has room to move. So I'm just gonna poke a hole right here. I'm just gonna do it with this. So I'm going to place that right there. But first, I gotta create a little tab. So I'm just gonna create that using this. I'm gonna cut a piece of this. So I'm going to cut that piece into 3/4 of an inch. And I'm actually gonna do 2 just to make it thick. And let's see if this is gonna work. So if I put that here, it is gonna bend, but it's a little bit too long. So I'm gonna cut it right there. And I'm going to make sure they're both equal. So right there. So I'm just going to glue these 2 pieces together. And there you go. And I'm grabbing a piece of my scraps, something that will fit right there. And I'm just going to glue that piece here as well. So there you go. And then I'm just going to place it where I did my hole, so I know where I want the hole for this piece to be. And I'm just going to mark it. Okay. And it's right here. So then we're just gonna put that through. And there you go. Actually, okay, so let's just remove this tape. And there you go. And then I'm actually gonna add a little bit more of double-sided tape. And now we are ready to cover this sheet as well. Okay, so there you go. And then here's our ribbon, and then here's a little tab, and then this can open. And now I'm just going to cover these 2 sheets using more of the paper cut up. So there you go. and then we can close this like that. And then on the back I'm just adding a little tag that I had, and I put the string right there. And this is our page 7. Alright, so now we are into page 8, and for this page I decided I'm going to switch it up, and I'm going to create a waterfall instead of a pocket. So I'm going to grab 2 pieces of cardstock, and this is the regular, not the heavyweight, and I'm going to cut these at 5 by 6, and I'm going to need 4, so I have 2 right here, and then I will cut 2 more, so 5 by 6, and I'm going to score. Let me show you. I am going to score along the long side, half an inch on each one of these. Alright, so I added the tape along my score line, and now I'm going to place it on the back cover, and I'm only peeling a little bit of the tape right now, and I'm just going to make sure it's pretty straight, and I'm going to hold this corner and just pull that out like that. So that's number 1, and then I'm going to do the same with the other ones. So I'm going to make sure they're really straight before I take the tape off, and I like to close it and make sure that they still look even when you close these. So that looks fine, and I'm going to pull it up a little bit. Okay, so here we go, number 2. And then I'm going to do the same for the other 2. Okay, so I finished putting my papers, and I actually added 2 more. So it goes all the way down. And I added this little piece from my scraps. And here is where I will be adding my magnet. So I will put a magnet here and on this top page, and then I'm going to cover my paper. So I finished adding my paper. So this is how it looks. I decided not to add paper in the back so it won't bulk up too much. I am going to add paper on these empty gussets using my scraps. And that's it. That concludes page 8. And next we're going to be adding our sheets, putting everything together, and adding our embellishments. Alright, thanks for watching.